So, I'm making this video today to talk about what I exactly mean when I'm speaking of developmental pathways. So, often when I'm talking about what it means to be a woman, what it means to be a man, I use that it is a developmental pathway that starts at conception and ends in death. And first, I want to underscore that when I'm talking about any organism, okay, whether that organism is a fungus or a virus or a bacteria or a mammal or a primate or anything, I am talking about the scientific classification of organisms according to their form and function. So that's what I'm using. So when I'm talking about development in terms of biology, that developmental pathway, I'm talking about the progressive changes in size and shape and function during the life of an organism. And this is the way that its genetic potentials, its genotypes are translated into functioning mature systems, phenotypes. And this is what is encoded in our DNA. It's basically saying these are the potentials, the pathway along which you will develop. So an organism that is a certain kind of a plant. Let's say it's a tulip. When the X and the Y come together, encoded in that DNA, when they come together, that organism is going to develop with only certain form and function, a very particular form and function that is encoded into its DNA. So it's going to become a tulip over time. It's not going to become any other flower. It's not going to become any other plant. It's not going to become a fungus. It's not going to become an animal. Okay, it's not going to become anything else. Once that comes together, it is on a very particular trajectory. Now, there may be anomalies along that trajectory. Say it doesn't get enough sunlight, or say it is overwatered. It might not reach its full growth potential. It might have maybe a disease affects it that changes the color, the coloration that it is meant to have. So when I'm talking about men and women and our developmental pathways, I'm talking about this. I'm talking about the path, the particular pathway that it is encoded into our genes that holds the potential for what our development will look like. Now, I talk about developmental pathways rather than genitals, because a lot of people will say, well, some women might be born without a uterus, or they have it removed for some reason. But this is whatever happens along that genetic path, whether or not someone for some reason has a genetic anomaly, whether a woman has a genetic anomaly in which she does not grow a uterus for some reason, she still doesn't grow a penis. She doesn't change from her particular pathway of being a woman and jump tracks and go down another path. She doesn't start becoming a plant either. She doesn't turn into a bacteria or a virus. She is still on a female trajectory. Okay, whether or not there are any anomalies in that functioning. There's no jumping tracks. So even human beings who have what we call DSD conditions, what used to but now it's considered a pejorative to call intersex conditions. We call these DSDs, differences of sexual development. Even if someone has a DSD, the DSDs are sex specific. They are specific to one sex or the other. Okay, they're sex-specific conditions. So people who have these anomalies, they are still of one sex or the other. They do not jump developmental tracks. Okay, when I'm talking about these developmental pathways, it's the potential for progressing, developing. It's what's encoded in the DNA, the potential for your shape and function. Okay, the functions that your body may or may not have, and the shape that your body may or may not have. So once you are on a trajectory, whether I'm talking about the developmental path on the most broad level of whether you are an animal, a plant, or a fungus, whether I'm talking about it on the next level, whether you are a mammal or a reptile or a fish, whether I'm talking about it on the next level, whether you are a primate or a canine or a rodent, whether I'm talking about it on the next level, whether you are a human or a great ape, or whether I'm talking about it on the most specific level that we can for humans, whether you are on a path to be a man or a woman. These trajectories, these developmental pathways, you can't jump the track of the pathway. You can't change from one path to the other. All of your potentials of development are still along that single pathway. Whether or not you have an anomaly in that development, there is only one path that you have potentials along. So men do not have any potential to develop along a female developmental path. Women do not have any potential to develop along a male developmental path. Once you are on that path, and really in a way it starts preconception, because it's still in a way encoded into the sperm and eggs of your species. But for in terms of being an alive being, I use the term conception. It starts at conception. That once you are on that pathway, you're on it. You're on it for life. That's it. That's the potential for development, whether there are anomalies of development or not. So like a human being, there are some humans who are born without limbs. It doesn't mean that humans are not a bipedal species. We are a bipedal species. There can be anomalies, but that is our potential. There's no potential for a human to have a trunk and become a tree. Just because someone is born with only one leg doesn't make them a tree. They're not going to develop roots and start processing sunlight through photosynthesis. They're still going to be a human being. They are still going to have the form and function of a human and no other kind of organism. A man is always going to have the form and function of a man, no matter how he might externally alter his body by taking drugs or getting plastic surgery. That's the trajectory of form and function is on the male developmental pathway. And that's what I'm talking about when I'm talking about developmental pathways. And I hope that explains things for you a little better.